Okay, so we just touched upon outsourcing coming to the fore, particularly to I guess fight against these uncertain forecasts. Can you run me through a few scenarios where you would consider that it would be you've got two choices. You can insource or outsource. Can you run me through a few scenarios, where you'd figure it was a safe bet to keep something in house, or a situation where perhaps the company has got capacity or unused capacity, and then where outsourcing should be considered more carefully?
Yeah, so how I would describe that question is, if you look at a pharmaceutical company that has infrastructure, it's there. So there's a sunk cost mentality to the decisions that they take, right? We have the capacity, we may as well use it, right? Put as much product through it as we can to offset, obviously, the costs. That's one approach to it. Every company has its own set of priorities and their own attitudes toward risk, and we see that when we talk to head of manufacturing. We find out that the list of things they're concerned about is more or less the same, but the order in which they rank those things are very different. So control is key. Quality is key. So control, can I control my production? Can I control my supply? That's always important. There's often a tax strategy associated with where these assets are placed, which is part of the organizational efforts to derive value from supply chain. So there's a lot of considerations. Every company has their own unique view of what's most important.
Okay, so a company is facing a decision. Do we manufacture in house or do we outsource? What is going to drive a company to the latter, to look to an outsourced solution?
So it could be accessing technology they don't have, it can be accessing capacity that they're constrained in, or it could be risk mitigation, business continuity, just to give them security in their supply chain.
And in your many conversations with people in those very positions, which one of those would you say is the one that really triggers that decision, or do you think it's company dependent?
It's really company dependent. Again, the list of things that concern pharmaceutical companies is fairly consistent. The order that they rank those, very individual.
Okay, so we've come to a point where a company has decided that they need to outsource for whatever reason, whether it was to mitigate risk or because they don't have the capacity. That's not the end of the story. More decisions need to be made. And we'll get to that in a little bit later, but given your sort of long history with the industry and working within this sort of relationship between pharmaceutical companies and providers, can you tell me a little bit about how that's changed or evolved over the years, and what's driven some of that change? Yeah,
I think universally companies tell us that they're just dealing with too many suppliers. So they need to pare that down. It's too complicated to manage so many suppliers. And then second to that is, again, almost universally we hear that they want to take more of their external spend and focus it on fewer providers that have more broad-based capabilities.
And how have the contract manufacturers dealt with that demand? Presumably, there's a demand from the sector, and then you need to sort of realign. What shifts have you seen from the contract manufacturer side? Yeah,
so what we believe is happening in the industry is the supplier side of the industry is really ripe for consolidation, and we think that that's beginning. Patheon has gone through a number of acquisitions in the last couple of years to position us to be exactly that type of supplier, broad base of capabilities, drug substance, drug product. Can support a product all the way through the life cycle, from development to commercial launch.
And how about the relationship? Because I think it's moving away from a sort of customer-supplier relationship, from what I understand. And because the relationship is more involved and more complex, there's a stronger relationship between the two. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How Patheon now interacts with its customers, or probably a better word is partner.
Yeah, I think it is moving towards more of a partnership, and that's a term that's been largely overused in the industry for a long time. However, we do see that the conversation, at least with clients that behave more strategically and are willing to engage with their supply chain differently, is a shifting dialogue sort of away from the historic, here's what we'd like you to manufacture for us, to here's the problem we're trying to solve. What solutions can you bring to bear that are different than the way we've interacted in the past.